morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Well, the birds are singing in the morning and in the evening too, and the snow is disappearing. The horses are shedding hair everywhere, and another Kamloops Cowboy Festival is in the books. That's a sure sign winter's working her way out the gate. And today I'll visit with one of the performers at the festival, Tom Swearingen, and we'll shine the cowboy poetry spotlight on him today.
They're soaked, of course, still dripping from their bout with nature's wrath, but now the sun is rising and in time will warm their path.
On the Rangeland News, trying to anticipate what steer prices will be like at the end of the summer is like trying to hit a moving target for sure.
The outlook for steer prices is brighter, partly because
beef demand is quite solid.
There have been some horses that some cowboys have had to give up on, but another cowboy can get along with that same horse, and Baxter Black looks at something like that today.
For his first public outing, Robbie decided to saddle 2 horses and lead route, as in root canal.
On the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, something related to Baxter's story. Got a classic song of the West again, much more, and we're going to get going here with something that seems to fit pretty well in the month of March from Jim Reeder.
I'm 3 weeks into cabin time and I'm 2 weeks behind on a matrimonial payment plan evidently I had signed. My wife said next year she's gonna take care of being crews. She claims she never sees me when all my calves are due. And I said, whoa, whoa, honey, cut me a little slack. Well, I'm a ranching man and this you knew when you smiled and said I do. And she said, whoa, whoa, honey, let's get something straight. If I was a 4-legged critter, I'd be someone with whom you would relate. I've got 2 calves in the barn tonight, and they're looking kinda down. So I figured maybe best if I just stayed and hung around. My dinner, it was hot at 6 by 11, freezing cold. Oh, but nothing quite compared to the iceberg at the door. She said, whoa, whoa, honey, cut me a little slack. Well, I'm a lonesome girl in a lonesome world, and I want my husband back. And I said, whoa, whoa, honey, I'll make it up to you. When cabin time is over, I'll name the best one of the bunch after you. And I said, whoa, whoa, honey, cut me a little slack. Well, I'm a ranching man, and this you knew when you smiled and said I do. And she said, whoa, now hold on, honey, let's get something straight. If I was a 4-legged critter, I'd be someone with whom you would relate. Yeah, if I was a 4-legged critter, I'd be someone with whom you would relate.
I guess that could say quite a bit if you had named a calf or a cow after your wife. It depends on what that calf or cow was like, maybe. I better not go any deeper into that. I had a nice visit with the cowboy poet from Oregon, Tom Swearingen, at the recently concluded and very well-attended Kamloops Cowboy Festival, and we talked about the inspiration for good cowboy poetry.
Where does it come from? Well, you know, I think my inspiration for my subject matter quite often comes from experiences and observation from horseback. We're blessed to own horses, and we spend a fair amount of time with them and on them. And that leads to all kinds of opportunity to reflect about a near wreck or good friends maybe that we've come in contact with, or just the sights and sounds and smells, whatever, of horses. We spend more time with horses than we do cattle, although we do sometimes help friends move their cattle, or help out some ranching friends and whatever. But most of it's horse related, or relationships and places and things that we've seen horseback.
Have you had horses in your life for a long time?
We've only owned horses for the last decade or 15 years maybe. But horses have been a part of my life forever. I grew up with both sets of grandparents that were horse folks and farmers and ranchers, beef producers. Or I had my grandfather on my mom's side farmed with horses, and all of his implements were horse drawn implements. So
were you around him in those days?
I knew him, but that was after he'd sold the farm in Nebraska and come to Oregon, where thankfully he did, because that's where my mom met my dad and eventually got married. And so I knew him and talked a lot about his life back in Nebraska. My grandfather on my father's side, my grandma and grandpa, and the little ranch that my dad was on, they were in our lives, and we've never lived more than about 15 miles from there, and so that's where there were always horses and cattle on his little ranch.
Well, there's more from Tom, and we've got a song that's a little bit different, but I think you'll like it, especially our listeners at KBFS in Bellevue, South Dakota. Coming up when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. There's a pretty good song that is fairly historically accurate about an incident that took place near the town of Deadwood in South Dakota, and I think it's pretty well done. That's coming up after we get back to the visit with Oregon cowboy poet Tom Swearingen. Do you do some training, and then other people will bring you a horse that they need a little bit of guidance with?
I don't know. I don't call myself a trainer. I train the horse I'm riding, and if that means that, or work the horses that I'm riding, and sometimes that is other people. Other people will. A lot of times it's, hey, my husband's horse isn't getting ridden. Can you? It needs a job. So it needs a job, and so. Yeah, I don't call myself a horse trainer, but hopefully I can know enough about them to help them find a job and do what.
When did you start writing poetry, and what kind of got you enthused to do that?
Yeah, well, the first poem I wrote was only about 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Now I've been a fan of Western music, cowboy poetry for as long as I can remember, because I grew up in a Western lifestyle environment, family, and was exposed, like a lot of people, in the mid '80s to Waddy Mitchell and Baxter Black and others.
When there was a real resurgence about
Buck
Ramsey.
Exactly, and so I was exposed to that and was just really drawn to it, and so I paid a lot of attention to the cowboy poetry that I was enjoying, and would buy a ticket to go see Waddy Mitchell or any of the greats when they got anywhere close. But to answer your question of when I wrote my first poem, was actually about 10 years ago, when a good friend of mine, a horse riding buddy, died way too young from a heart attack. And he had an annual New Year's Day morning ride out of his ranch. It was a tradition where family and friends would gather at his ranch, and we'd ride early morning, come back to his ranch and have a potluck New Year's Day. And he died in October. And his wife decided that she wanted to have that ride again in his honor on New Year's Day. And so that gave me a couple months to think about that. And I wrote a few lines only intending to reflect on his life and sort of pay honor to him. And I wrote a few lines, and I shared those at that ride, and could barely speak it. I mean, I was so moved. I mean, I somehow got through sharing that. And people, his family and friends and others, you know, it meant something to people, and I got permission. I mean, they were like, you know, hey, that was really good. You know, tell me another one, or not tell me another one, but you should write another one. I mean, you should write. And I guess I just got in my mind that maybe I could.
Back to Tom in a few minutes. Now, I am not much for playing cards, and I probably wouldn't know a good poker hand from a bad one, but I have heard the term dead man's hand, and I know it means aces and eights. And according to history, that's the hand that a famous historical character of the West was holding when he was shot and killed. The story told in this song from David John and the Comstock Cowboys.
I rode in the deadwood one dark stormy evening, tied up my horse to the rail. Heard the chink of his spurs on the hard wooden sidewalks. A stranger appeared from the dark and shadowy veil. He was all dressed in buckskin with a wide-brimmed sombrero. The wind blew his shoulder-length hair. Two pearl-handled six guns stuck in his waistband. Said if you came here to gamble, you better beware. Keep your eyes on the door, keep your back to the wall. Never you trust any man. Keep one hand on the table, one on your pistol, or aces and eights would be your very last hand. Said his name, it was James, but folks called him Wild Bill. He came to these Black Hills for gold. The cards were his weakness, the guns were his strength, and the women and whiskey he used had taken their toll. He said the one rule he'd live by was the one that he'd broken, and for that mistake he'd pay the price. And if you go in that bar and you sit at the table, you better listen to me and heed my advice. Keep your eyes on the door, keep your back to the wall. Never you trust any man. Keep one hand on the table, one on your pistol, or aces and eights will be your very last hand. I looked down for a moment to uncinch my saddle. When I turned up, the stranger was gone. I walked into the bar, asked about the gunfighter that I had just met on the street. Only moments before, they smiled and they said they hear that same story whenever a stranger arrives. I sat back to the wall, they dealt me a full house, and the words the gunfighter had said ran through my mind. Keep your eyes on the door, keep your back to the wall. Never you trust any man. Keep one hand on the table, one on your pistol, or aces and eights will be your very last hand.
Sure like that arrangement. David John and the Comstock Cowboys, and they play every week at the famous Bucket of Blood Saloon in Virginia City, Nevada. And they tour some as well. Now back to Tom Swearingen and the way he progressed as a cowboy poet.
I wrote, I think the next poem I wrote was about a horse wreck nearly averted. That was kind of funny, and I wrote a poem about it, and that led to another one, and then people started asking me, to share more and more, and the next thing you know, I got a whole bunch of poems.
Yeah, and you're traveling the country and reciting them on stages all over the place.
I've been blessed with some great opportunities. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be in Kamloops. I've heard so many good things about this festival from my performer friends, and they said, man, you would love it there. And so when Mark asked me if I would come up here, I couldn't be happier. And this has been a real treat being here.
Well, it's I don't know how many years it's going to carry on, 23 years now, and there are certain things that the committee insists on, and that's one thing, keeping it as authentic as possible. Everything has got to relate to the cowboy world and authentic working cowboys as much as we can, or people that understand what that world is all about. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's been popular with a lot of performers, because it's as authentic as we can make it. And this is cattle country. Kamloops, we like to consider the heart of the West, the only city in Canada with its own registered brand, and proud of its Western heritage and its ranching roots. So that might have something to do with it. It get me off my soapbox now.
Yeah. No, it is wonderful, and I appreciate that dedication to authenticity.
And we'll get back to this in a little while. Baxter Black is up next with a true account of a horse with a name, Root. That's short for Root Canal. And you remember the song we started with today, Cabin Time? Well, I'll play one called Cabin Time, but it's a different song. Then the Rangeland News, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this with a little peek at the cowboy and the athlete.
Well, friends, thanks for listening. It'll be no surprise that I've published a beautiful new hardback book called A Commotion in Rhyme. It fits in the bunkhouse, the outhouse, the bookstore, the library, or the cookbook. Unfortunately, it won't fit in a cupcake. A commotion? Oh. Call 800-654-2550 or BaxterBlack.com. Come to think of it, it might fit in a Caesar salad.
Robbie, a horse trainer, wound up being asked to train a Mustang bought at auction by a local dentist. The purchase was a 6-year-old stallion, 14 hands, woolly as a grizzly, and wild as the last bramer to be gathered in the fall. Well, Robbie castrated the stud and went to work, and in 6 weeks he could actually ride the snake around the pen. For his first public outing, Robbie decided to saddle 2 horses and lead Root, as in Root Canal. It was a weekend, so he chose the path across the college campus to introduce Root to some new sights and sounds. Bebopping across the grass came what appeared to be an athlete. Broad shoulders, bald head, sweatpants, and tennis shoes the size of a bass boat. "Yo, bro," saluted the full-ride scholarship recipient. "I sure feel like a horseback ride." Well, Robbie looked him over. He was a finely tuned specimen of years of grooming, coaching, bodybuilding, brainwashing, and confidence building. On his T-shirt it said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for I am the meanest gorilla in the valley." "Sure," said Robbie. "Let me help you up." Well, Root was skittish, but the meanest gorilla crawled up in the saddle. Stirrups were just right. "Try to stay on the grass," suggested Robbie, "in case you fall." "Fall? Huh," was the reply. Well, to his credit, he didn't fall. Instead, he flew, possibly even glided, soared, maybe catapulted would capture it best. Root made 2 good leaps and drove his front feet into the ground and fired the gorilla over his head like a Navy jet being launched from a carrier. He scraped a streak of dead grass off the hard lawn 3 yards long with his nose and skidded to a stop. Well, Robbie caught old Root back up and rode back to the scene of the accident. "I believe you can ride him, bro," said Robbie. "Climb up and try again." The athlete pondered the possibility, fingering the 2 pieces of his $85 wraparound sunglasses. Maybe later," he said. "I think I heard the bell." "Well, okay," said Robbie, "any time." "Yo," said the griller. "Yo," said Robbie, who hadn't heard the bell, mostly because it was Saturday. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
Come and be part of the Top Cut Speckled Park sale, Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. at Dryland Trading Corp in Veteran, Alberta, offering 30 performance bulls, semen and embryo packages, fancy purebred heifers and pairs. This quality group of cattle offered by Unlimited Spots, Lair Ranching, Movin' Spots, and Macalair Ranching. Check out the catalog online at topcutspeckedpark.com or on Facebook. Join us for a meal and social at the Veteran Community Hall. Contact Dustin for more information, 306-228-1498. A lot of interest in speckled park cattle these days, and they, of course, are the first breed completely developed in Canada, and that's going to be a great sale. I was talking with Curtis just a couple of weeks ago as he was riding through the Cavan grounds, and things are going well. Gene Prescott, as always, was really loved by the folks at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival. Husband Gary was home looking after calving on their ranch near San Angelo. Well, Gene was on stage singing songs like this.
The days are getting longer, early spring has shown its face. The mudroom's clean and orderly, supplies are in their place. Then suddenly it happens on a crisp and chilly morn. We go into action, 'cause our first calf is born. It's calving time, we'll be working night and day. We've waited all year long, and we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle, and it happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. 2 weeks have passed and all is fine, we've only lost a few. When that blizzard hit last week was not much we could do. The mudroom needs a scrubbing, there's bottles in the sink. And after what those calves brought in this place, it really stinks. It's calving time, we're working night and day. We've waited all year long, we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. Well, another week has passed us by, I have nothing to report, except that sleep and patience are both getting mighty short. You can't get in the mudroom, this place is one big mess. Why anyone would live like this is anybody's guess. It's calving time, we've been working night and day. We've waited all year long, and we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. And now just like those calving cows, we both are slowing down. I'm watching the place today 'cause hubby's gone to town. He went off to a bull sale, it's like an endless chain. We'll breed those cows for next year, then we'll do it all again. When it's calving time, we'll be working night and day. We'll be waiting all year long, we'll be ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. We'll put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. Yeah.
Come and see the largest selection of well-broke horses in Western Canada at the 6th Annual Top Gun Horse Sale. April 13th at high noon at the Calnash Event Center, Ponoka, Alberta. You can preview the horses Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. and they start coming through the ring Saturday, April 13th at high noon. Over 200 horses expected. Horses for ranch work, team penning, roping, trail riding, barrels, mounted shooting, and kids' horses. Every type of horse you might be looking for, including loads of true ranch horses. Every horse will be ridden, driven, or led into the ring. Rain or shine, everything's inside. For information and to see the horses, go to TopGunHorseSales.com or call Jordan Dodds at 403-783-0246.
The news of the rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, it says it seems to be a moving target trying to predict what steer prices will be this fall. USDA has just revised its predictions again, and Gary Crawford has more.
U.S. beef production will grow again this year by about 1.5%, but that's
not as much growth year over year as we previously anticipated.
Agriculture Department Outlook Board Chairman Seth Meyer, USDA now putting 2019 beef output at 27.3 billion pounds, about 310 million pounds less than USDA's previous forecast. Meyer says there are a couple of reasons to make this little cut. First,
more cows in the slaughter mix. And I think you've got lighter carcass weights as we've seen some cold temperatures which have impacted feed conversion in the Midwest and the plains.
Meanwhile, the outlook for steer prices is brighter, partly because
beef demand is quite solid. So you've got maybe some supply constraints in the beef market and demand which has been quite solid.
And so steer prices expected to average about $119.63 a hundredweight this year, $1.13 more than analysts were forecasting a month ago, $2.50 more than last year's average. Gary Crawford, U.S. Department of Agriculture.
A San Mateo, California jury has awarded more than $2.4 million to a woman injured by a pet cow at a feed store in 2016. Longtime customer of Azevedo Feed Store, Elvina Pieria, went to the store on April 23rd to buy hay for her horses. Store employee Heather Clater invited Pieria to see the store's pet cow, Holly, who had recently been given birth to 2 calves. And she followed the lady from the store into the pen, and Holly, a black Angus cow, began rubbing her head against the lady's leg, according to a report in the news published in San Jose. But as the lady approached the calves, Holly suddenly put her head down and charged Pieria, hitting her in the chest, pinning her against a post, and the mother of twin boys was rushed to Stanford Medical Center, where she spent 2 days in intensive care with 2 displaced and 8 broken ribs. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury awarded her $114,600 for past medical bills. Wow. $1.3 million for future medical expenses, $250,000 for past pain and suffering, and $750,000 for future pain and suffering, for a total of $2,452,825. And a bull in Sparta, New Jersey was put down by police after it attacked and seriously injured its owner. Prior to the incident, police received several calls from neighbors who reported that a cow was approaching passing cars. And according to ABC News, one passing driver thought the animal was harmless, rolled down her window to pet the bull, and even fed it cereal. Calling the police herself, Wendy McDermott, the animal's owner, told the officers the cow was actually a bull and said the animal had been acting highly aggressively recently. And once McDermott got the bull back to her estate, she got out of her vehicle to put the bull back in its pen, and that's when the bull knocked her to the ground. After putting the animal down, the paramedics arrived at the scene to Dr. McDermott. The owner sustained several bruises to her upper body, along with head lacerations requiring 40 stitches. Didn't say whether they saved the meat from the bull or not. And U.S. Agriculture's Research Service has completed a life cycle analysis of beef cattle production in the U.S. that concluded cattle convert feed about as efficiently as pork and poultry and are not large contributors to global warming. The scope of the analysis spanned 5 years, 7 cattle-producing regions, and used data from 2,270 survey responses and site visits nationwide. We found that the greenhouse gas emissions in our analysis were not all that different from what other credible studies have shown and were not a significant contributor to long-time global warming, said ARS agricultural engineer Alan Rotz, who led the analysis team, in a study summary on the agency's website. Well, Alberta, be warned, the Western Spirit Band is coming your way. Little brother Jim, Uncle Mike, and I will be doing a special show with the notorious Ben Crane and his daughter Jessica Wednesday, April 24th at Withrow Gospel Mission, just close to Eckville, Alberta. Ben tells us tickets are going fairly fast and there is limited seating. And as I understand, Frontier Bus Lines is bringing a bunch of folks to the event too. And you can order tickets at bencrane.com. Just click on tickets or give Ben a call, 403-729-2747. And the very next day, the Western Spirit Band will be at our cruise reunion at the Westerner in Red Deer. A great time of memories from our 16 years of cruises. And you can RSVP at 1-800-530-0131 for that one. That's the Thursday night. And of course, Friday, the big main event gets underway in Red Deer. Once again, I'll be doing the commentary for the Trainers Challenge with three of the best, Cade Mills, Rod Olson, and Dale Clearwater. And let's see, on May the 11th and 12th, I'll be up at Penny Bryn Farms, just outside of Kersley, BC, for a concert fundraiser for Lindy Chung's next marathon ride across Normandy in France. And then, of course, we'll be at the Stony Plain Cowboy Gathering, August 16th to the 18th in Stony Plain, Alberta. More to come. Stay tuned. Next regular cattle sale at the Kamloops Yards of the BC Livestock Co-op is April 9th and April 15th in Okanagan Falls. And, April the 18th is the big Williams Lake Bull Sale. And there are a lot of special sales coming up at the Innisfail auction market. And of course, regular cattle sales every Wednesday, pre-sort sales on Monday. Get the details at innisfailauctionmarket.com. And now the final item. Springtime brings a lot of changes on a ranch. The snow disappears, the birds show up, the pens need cleaning, and even the pets need attention. And one neighbor told me he got a big surprise when he finally got around to brushing the dog. And when he had finished brushing and clipping the dog, he found out it was actually a cat. And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, why one rider had no trouble riding a horse across a creek when the horse's owner could not get that same horse to go across. That's next when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Got a pretty interesting horse training file coming up for Urban Saddles and Western Wear, and then much more from poet Tom Swearingen. But first, you gotta hear this. Here's what a few folks have said about the Spirit of the West cruises.
We had a lot of fun. One of the best cruises I've been on with you.
I've already put my deposit down for the next year's cruise, so sure we'll see you again.
Yeah, it's a good crowd.
I've met excellent people, and I couldn't ask for a better trip. The people were just like family. People look out for each other's, and it's great. It's a great experience.
And they're just dedicated to helping you enjoy your holiday. I think that's what I really like about cruising.
That's what makes it so nice, is that there are so many folks that are from the background, the way we were brought up on farms and ranches.
Our 2019 cruise will be something we've wanted to do for a long time. August 29th, we'll fly to Dublin, Ireland. We'll visit an Irish thoroughbred breeding farm, be hosted by the Irish Cattle Breeding Federation. Then we'll sail to some historic and beautiful places, Cork, Belfast, and then Glasgow and Inverness, Scotland. We might even get pictures of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. And we'll have stops in Paris and London. Get all the information at 1-800-530-0131. And check out our Spirit of the West cruise page at hugh-mclennan.com and our cruise Facebook page. Oh boy, a bucket list trip for sure, and we would love to see you at our big cruise reunion celebration in Red Deer Thursday, April 25th from 5 until about 8:30 p.m. We'll have the Western Spirit Band there and members of our Cruisin' Cowboy Band. Friends and family of past cruisers welcome, and we'll have lots of photos and videos from our many memorable excursions of the past 16 years. And you can give Jim and Karen a call if you'd like to come at 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Start thinking spring with help from Canada's largest Western store. That's right, spring stock is arriving at Urban Tack and Western Wear. See what's new and start suiting up with the latest from the biggest names in the biz. Boulay, Ariat, Wrangler, Cinch, Huey, and more. Jeans, jackets, boots, shirts, hats, hoodies, it's all here at Urban's, exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield, or shop online at urbans.ca.
Don't just wear it, live it. Urban Tack and Western Wear.
Well, he was a pretty promising colt, had about 35 rides by this time, and we came to a creek about maybe half a foot deep and about 3 feet across. Little less than a meter, I guess if you go metric, and the colt walked up to the edge of the water and stopped, and he wouldn't go any further. The other 3 riders crossed, but the colt still refused. So the cow boss rode back to the colt, and he'd been watching this, and he said, "If you don't mind, young fella, step off, and I think you'll cross for me." Well, the young cowboy swallowed his pride and let the boss get on, and the colt hesitated a few seconds and then put 1 foot in the water and willingly walked across the creek, turned around, and the boss walked him back again. So he got off and gave him back to the new guy, who got on and rode up to the edge of the creek, and the colt stopped and wouldn't go across. Well, the young guy was pretty frustrated, and he said, "How come he crossed for you and not for me? Should I jab my spurs into him, over and under him, back him up about 10 feet and take a run at it, or what?" And the boss said quietly, "No, if you do what I did, he'll cross for you." "Oh, what am I doing differently?" the kid asked. And the boss said, "Where are you looking? Where's your focus? I can tell you, you're looking right down at your colt's ears. Try just changing your focus. Look way across the creek and focus on a piece or a place or a point about 5 yards up the far bank, and then just ask him to cross." Well, the kid did that, and the colt willingly crossed the creek, and everybody learned something about where your focus needs to be. And for Urban Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Boy, something I know keeps our horses doing well is that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration. You can find out all about it at hoffmanshorseration.com. And look out, I think the herd is coming this way. Come and see the largest selection of well-broke horses in Western Canada at the 6th Annual Top Gun Horse Sale. April 13th at high noon at the Calnash Event Center, Ponoka, Alberta. You can preview the horses Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. and they start coming through the ring Saturday, April 13th at high noon. Over 200 horses expected. Horses for ranch work, team penning, roping, trail riding, barrels, mounted, shooting, and kids' horses. Every type of horse you might be looking for, including loads of true ranch horses. Every horse will be ridden, driven, or led into the ring. Rain or shine, everything's inside. For information and to see the horses, go to TopGunHorseSales.com or call Jordan Dodds at 403-783-0246. The final concert at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival at the Sunday evening dinner show was spectacular. Charlie Ewing, Tom Swearingen, Gary Allegretto, Gene Prescott, Michael Fleming, and the closing set pretty much brought the house down. Tim Huss and Spider Bishop absolutely nailed it, had everybody on their feet, and after the standing ovation, they demanded an encore. And man, was it something. So it's only fitting, I think, that Tim Huss gets a spot here. This one's called Hotel Saloon.
There's an 18-point L crack hanging above the door. The boot heels of the dancers have worn grooves upon the floor. The cowboys have been drinking here since the Prohibition days. Oil booms and drought years pass through the place. There's a hitching rail out in front and another on the side. A long bar with a brass rail, bottles of rye. The barmaid's name is Katie, and they say she's 80 proof. With a Chinook arch in the west, the water pouring off the roof. Ian Tyson is singing Navajo Run. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stuff. Coyotes are howling underneath the moon here at the Hotel Saloon. Just past the grain elevator across the railroad tracks, right next door to the Western store, saddle and tack. The sign out front says home cooked meals. The room's upstairs. Something else no one can read, but nobody seems to care. The rig crew stop from time to time. Everybody's welcome here. There's hot coffee and buffalo steaks and bottles of beer. There's a cowboy band on the weekend and all of the hockey games. You could spend a night or spend your life and feel it just the same. Ian Tyson is singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stud. Coyotes are howling underneath the moon here at the Hotel Saloon. They still play Wilf Carter here on the worn-out jukebox. Two-step or a shuffle or a Rocky Mountain waltz. There's horseshoes by the fireplace on the wall with the wagon wheel. When the mercury starts falling, it warms against the chill. There's a cow horse at the rail, hitched up side by side, with a panel truck, a horse trailer, and the snowmobiles in line. And it really does get busy here once the sun goes down. You ought to see it on the long weekend when the rodeo's in town. Ian Tyson is singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stud. Coyotes are howling underneath the moon here at the Hotel Saloon. Ian Tyson is singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stud. Coyotes are howling underneath the moon here at the Hotel Saloon.
And now back to Tom Swearingen, and we were talking about how the Kamloops Cowboy Festival is successful for many reasons, but keeping it authentically cowboy is sure one of them.
Dedication to authenticity, and you know, you might have heard me do a poem last night called "I Don't Call Myself a Cowboy."
Yeah.
And you know, that's tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I have cowboy. I mean, I have such appreciation for people who cowboy as a job description, and I cowboy on occasion to help friends, yeah. And I look forward to those opportunities. I've worked some cattle and helped out. I've spent a little time in cow camps here and there, and you know, so you know, I guess I can claim, yeah. You know, being okay with being called a cowboy, yeah.
And your new CD is out, and I was going to get a copy from you.
Yeah, in fact, I carried one from the motel with your name on it.
Oh, good.
So I need to reconnect with my wife. It's in her purse. So,
okay.
Because my purse I didn't bring with me.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, it's brand new. It came out. It's called Language of the Land, and it's yeah. I mean, it's not 3 weeks old, and I'll have one for you here as soon as I reconnect with it.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tom, thanks so much for doing this, and thanks for coming to Kamloops, and I know you've got a set to do in a few minutes, so I won't hold you up, but hope our trails cross again real soon.
Yeah, thank you, Hugh.
Tom will be featured in this week's Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, and our classic Song of the West is next, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. You know, for 38 years, Riders in the Sky have been keepers of the flame passed on by groups like the Sons of the Pioneers and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, reviving and revitalizing the Western music we all love. And at the same time, they stayed true to the integrity of what it's all about. And they've become, I guess we'd call them modern-day icons by branding it with their own legendary wacky humor and their way-out Western wit. And they inspire everybody, even a lot of young folks, to live the cowboy way. And they're the stars, of course, of stage and screen, Grand Ole Opry, National Public Radio, Satellite Radio, Saturday morning TV. And they're the only pure Western groups to actually have won a Grammy Award. They are going to be in Boise, Idaho, May 30th, and in Bozeman, Montana, on May the 31st, according to their website. And they're known for their hilarious comedy routines, of course, and parodies. But for this week's classic Song of the West, they play it pretty straight. And they are great musicians. The classic song is Land Beyond the Sun.
Every day the skies are blue, and the grazing's good there too. It's away off in that land beyond the sun, where the cool clear waters flow and the tumbleweeds don't blow. Gonna rest there when the last big roundup's done. Well, and me, we wanna be there by sundown, when the big boss calls the cowpokes one by one. Then I'll cross the great divide, where the plains are sweeping wide, and I'll head into that land beyond the sun. To be there by sundown, when the big boss calls the cowpokes one by one. They've all hit the glory trail, but I'll join them without fail when I head into that land beyond the sun. When I head into that land beyond the sun.
And now, here's this week's guest, Tom Swearingen, in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight.
Nothing but dry and dusty on this drive across the range, but seeing what's up ahead, I'd say that's about to change. Thick clouds are hanging heavy, dark like anvils in the sky. We're about to get a hammering, boys. The rain is gonna fly. Get ready for a soaking. We'll be sogged down to our toes, but I won't hear complaining. It's the life us punchers chose. Out here in God's wide open, moving cows straddle leather, taking each day as it comes, no matter what the weather. The herd's a different story. They're already getting tense, so I believe we'll have our hands full till we get them to the fence. Lord help if we get thunder. They could bolt at the first clap, and we don't need more drama trying to get them to the trap. The herd's already skitty. They know something's about to blow, and if they start to running now, boys, we'll have a rodeo. So Thatch, you hit a long trot, and we'll meet you at the swale. Now you hold them when they get there, and we'll follow with the tail. 'Cause if the water's rising, it'll make the crossing tough, and we'll have to work together Even then she'll still be rough. Now boys, don't let the herd drift, or at least not far or fast, and we'll all deserve our wages once this desert storm is past. Let's just keep 'em moving easy, nice and gentle as we go. We'll get there a lot quicker if we keep 'em moving slow. The herd is fairly settled given what came through last night. That sudden rain and wind squall could have set 'em on the flight. Come roaring across the desert like a freight train on a tear. It's really quite surprising that the cattle didn't scare. Could call it luck or blessing or whatever name preferred for them to not go missing in the storm they just endured. Especially with the thunder and white flash of jagged light, for that could sure have set 'em running fast for out of sight. But they're just milling gentle, some asleep, enjoying rest. Don't look worse for the weather or appear at all distressed. And so too with our horses. They resisted panicked flight, the cavies all together spite the raging of the night. They're soaked, of course, still dripping from their bout with nature's wrath, but now the sun is rising and in time will warm their path. What clouds remain are lifting, wispy, white, empty to rain. We'll soon be back to Dusty on our drive across the plain. So let's stop burning daylight. There are miles to trail ahead. Let's get this herd a-moving, and tonight we'll see our bed. Let's just keep 'em moving easy, nice and gentle as we go. We'll get there a lot quicker if we keep 'em moving slow.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride. I sure hope you can join us right back here next week at the same time. And, of course, thanks again to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan, who once again did an awesome job, along with all of our tireless volunteers on the 2019 Kamloops Cowboy Festival. By the way, if you'd like to subscribe to Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine, just give them a call, 1-800-943-7336, or see cowboycountrymagazine.com. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.